When I started this job about 4 or 5 years ago, the recycling rate was about 15 to 17% in the city, and it's already near to 34%. So we think we've come quite a long way since the campaign started, and that the recycling rates demonstrate that. The limitations that we experience in trying to provide recycling in the city really come down to the types of housing and planning restrictions within Edinburgh. So Edinburgh, as you'll know, is an old city. We've got a large area that's a World Heritage Site, and we're not allowed to actually put bins on the streets in the World Heritage area. So we're very limited in our recycling provision capabilities in those areas. We have come up with a curbside collection that we've been offering to householders now and starting to roll out in the harder to reach areas, which is proving quite successful. We also have other restrictions, things like road safety. So for the 54% of housing in the city, which is tenements and other high density areas, we can't provide the curbside collections to those householders because of the tripping hazards of putting the boxes on the street, on the pavement, and also the fire hazards of storing these boxes in stairwells, things like paper and cardboard that could catch fire. So we've not been able to provide a curbside collection to those high density householders. So what we do instead is we put this on-street bank system in high density areas, and the restrictions that we face in doing that are things like where to place the bins on the street so that it's safe for people, they don't have to cross the road to reach them, so that it's not in a through route to school and things like that. So that's one of the other restrictions, and particularly for gas banks, putting those on the street because of the noise. We have a lot of issues with placing gas banks near householders, obviously because it's not fair on the people who live nearby. So unfortunately for us, we have to put gas still at the off-street sites, mostly supermarkets and some community and school areas. Packaging is a huge issue, and it's true whenever I give a talk it is one of the main things that people bring up. Unfortunately, a lot of it's out of our control as a council. Things like supermarkets, manufacturers, they work at a national level, so it's really the government that's going to be influencing them or taking control over that process. There is a lot of research and development money going into packaging to try and lightweight packaging materials, make them more recyclable. The latest thing, as I'm sure you're aware, has been biodegradable packaging, and the number of supermarkets now that are providing biodegradable bags or biodegradable plastic packaging. And that's good in the long run. In the short term it does present some problems for us because biodegradable packaging is not recyclable. It would contaminate the recycling loads, so it makes it harder to provide a recycling service for packaging in the meantime. And it also means that until we can provide some kind of commercial composting facility to householders where they'd be able to compost the biodegradable packaging that's being made, in the meantime they have to put it in landfill. And actually when biodegradable waste is sent to landfill, it produces methane when it breaks down instead of carbon dioxide if it was biodegraded on a compost heap. So that's actually worse for the environment in the long run. However, it is a good thing, you know, in the long run, and councils are trying to sort of now put in bids to the government to put together composting programmes for their areas, and Edinburgh's doing that as well. There's been a lot of food waste trials going on nationally in Scotland to try and work out what the best way to collect food waste would be and how to do it. So once the outcomes of those have been circulated, then we'll be looking at putting bids in for food waste for our city as well. The council is looking at incentive schemes as part of the wider recycling campaign. However, it's very funding dependent whether we'd be able to take something like this forward. We get all of our funds for the recycling campaign from the government. We have to bid for the funds every year. So the way it works is we put in a bid for specific programmes and then the government decide which ones they want to fund. We are looking at incentive schemes, and a lot of the English local authorities have actually done incentive schemes. So what we're doing is we're looking to see what's worked in other areas and whether we'd be able to replicate something in our area. One of the things that we're really keen to do is maybe come up with a system that we can pitch different neighbourhoods against each other to have a kind of league table of recycling in the city. So that we could incentivise communities to really recycle, and then we would reward them if they are good at recycling with things like community improvements, so things like planting trees or hedges, bulb planting, providing benches or playgrounds, that kind of thing. So that's something that we're really interested in. But at the moment we're only in the idea stage.